of SCP Thursdays. Merry Christmas Day after. We've got Kavzar The Blind leading the way. It's kind of ironic, I guess. But hey, that's what we got going on. But we've got 3 videos we're going to watch. And yeah, I'm ready to watch it. I'm sure some of you will start tuning in a minute or two. But I'm ready to go. We've got the stream going. And if you guys want to watch this full screen, you can join our Discord, which is in the link below. Should be in the link below. Hope everyone's doing good today. I'm ready to go. Let's do it.
Description: SCP-2137 is a single compact disc copy of Me Against the World, a hip-hop album by the artist Tupac Shakur, released in 1995. Physical examination as well as laser testing indicates that the CD was one of the initial release, manufactured and distributed in 1995. Conventional testing of the disc itself reveals identical results to a non-anomalous copy of the album. The case and liner notes have been determined to have no anomalous qualities, and the physical makeup and encoding of the disc appear completely normal. However, upon playing track 7, normally heavy in the game, the listener will encounter an instance of SCP-2137-1. The anomaly takes the form of spontaneously generated, professionally produced songs featuring Tupac Shakur in various styles within the hip-hop genre. Though each instance of SCP-2137-1 generated is unique, they share certain commonalities in terms of subject matter. The central focus of the song invariably addresses a crime, almost always a murder or series of murders, and then gives necessary anecdotal evidence or information to correctly identify and prosecute the killer, even going so far as to specify prosecutors or recommend vigilante justice. Though generation of SCP-2137-1 has been determined to have a definite causal nature, the manner in which SCP-2137-1
Joanna came in and is just, what do you want? God damn it. I'm trying to, we need to rewind it back, man. Damn, dude. I'm trying to watch. Can you rewind it back a whole minute, man? Let's just start it from the top. She's been like, I was like, dude, you know I'm starting.
The album.
Are we done here, woman?
Which will then pend 05 clearance.
Did you want to watch too? Go on your phone and watch it, because I'm not going to switch the audio. So go. You can watch it with me. Bro, thank you for the love. I appreciate you. What a fool. All right. Ready.
Description: SCP-2137 is a single compact disc copy of Me Against the World, a hip-hop album by the artist Tupac Shakur, released in 1995. Physical examination as well as laser testing indicates that the CD was one of the initial release, manufactured and distributed in 1995. Conventional testing of the disc itself reveals identical results to a non-anomalous copy of the album. The case and liner notes have been determined to have no anomalous qualities, and the physical makeup and encoding of the disc appear completely normal. However, upon playing track 7, normally heavy in the game, the listener will encounter an instance of SCP-2137-1. The anomaly takes the form of spontaneously generated, professionally produced songs featuring Tupac Shakur in various styles within the hip-hop genre. Though each instance of SCP-2137-1 generated is unique, they share certain commonalities in terms of subject matter. The central focus of the song invariably addresses a crime, almost always a murder or series of murders, and then gives necessary anecdotal evidence or information to correctly identify and prosecute the killer, even going so far as to specify prosecutors or recommend vigilante justice. Though generation of SCP-2137-1 has been determined to have a definite causal nature, the manner in which SCP-2137-1 instances are copied onto SCP-2137 has yet to be ascertained. SCP-2137-2. The primary voice on the songs, from herein identified as SCP-2137-2, matches cleanly through advanced audio analysis to that of the real Tupac Shakur, who died in 1996, over a year before the recovery of SCP-2137. However, occasionally, on crimes of a particularly complicated or brutal nature, SCP-2137-2 will be joined by other performers, either guest rapping or singing the chorus or bridge. This has included many of Tupac's contemporaries, such as Snoop Doggy Dogg, Nas, No Doubt, Everclear, Weezer, and Busta Rhymes, as well as artists from the 2000s, including Chris Brown, Katy Perry, Lil Wayne, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, the Yin Yang Twins, Drake, Neon Trees, Jet, Jay-Z, Kanye West, and Eminem, usually at the height of their popularity. On a few notable occasions involving long unsolved crimes by still active criminals, there have been guests of a more blatantly anachronistic nature, standouts among whom include Phil Harris, the Andrews Sisters, Frank Sinatra, Buddy Holly, The Who, Elvis Presley, Diana Ross, and the Beatles. Heavily anachronistic guests tend to take the role of primary artist, the song performed in their style, with SCP-2137-2 joining as a rap guest. When contacted, none of these artists had any recollection of recording for or information regarding SCP-2137. The crimes themselves share that they are unsolved, or in some cases have escaped detection entirely. The majority of instances of SCP-2137-1 address crimes of private citizens such as serial killers, spree murderers, or career criminals, though occasionally the songs will address larger groups such as Hamas, ISIS, the IRA, and even in two separate instances, the Chaos Insurgency and the Church of the Broken God. A prototypical example of SCP-2137-1 is included here for reference. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 542.
Now I gotta be doing detective work. After all this time, huh? Jeffrey Gertz still stalking at night. Killed his brother and some strangers with the same damn knife. Right. It's not on my plans to tell you what to do. I know what I would do if I was you. He hit the blade in the barn off North 111. He already killed 6, don't make it 7. Be careful and play it smart.
It's legit.
When the crimes have been addressed and the guilty parties brought to light, either by the legal system or otherwise, SCP-2137-1 is immediately replaced by a new instance. However, the track is easily recorded through conventional means. Recorded versions are not subject to change or replacement, and the original can be replayed from the CD endlessly before the killer is found with no or little variation. There are currently nearly 1,000 instances of SCP-2137-1 on record. Initial recovery log. SCP-2137 was recovered in the home of Avon Lincoln, arrested for the vigilante slaying of Michael Ferris, who was later revealed to have been the Ojai Strangler responsible for 6 murders over the summer of 1996. Avon's insistence that Tupac Shakur spoke to him from beyond the grave and told him he had to take justice into his own hands because Ferris's position as district attorney would prevent a fair trial drew the attention of Foundation agents after the song in question was produced as evidence in court. Amnestics were administered to all involved, and Lincoln was released back into the general population. Addendum 1A, the XK Incident. Initially, researchers experimented with anonymously tipping off local police departments through Foundation plants, which led to the resolution of over cold cases, including the recovery of SCP. and SCP-617, though no direct link has been established other than the murders involved. However, after 10 years, this use of the SCP was deemed impractical. Repeatedly addressing the crimes discussed in 2137's music was, in practice, allowing the SCP to dictate the circumstances of its containment, and under the wrong circumstances, opened the foundation to potential exposure through continuous interaction with law enforcement at all levels across multiple governments. In response to this, 059 ceased addressing the crimes in late 2000. After 2 months passed, SCP-2137's behavior radically changed when, for the first time, an instance of SCP-2137-1 was produced that revealed SCP-2137-2 had an awareness of its containment. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 851.
You said you all about security, but you not good guys. You redact and expunge, man, your silence is lies. You said you here to protect, but the killers weren't free. Don't let me show you how rough this outlaw can be. You couldn't stop the beast, so don't you start that struggle. You better watch your tone, unless you looking for trouble. Man, you need to fall back and let me do my duty. Locked in the drawer, feeling like you trying to screw me. You try to step up on my legacy. You don't believe that I'm Tupac, I'm not just a CD.
The decision was made to halt testing entirely rather than acquiesce. After 1 week passed, an instance of SCP-2137-1 appeared spontaneously on the YouTube channel of Los Angeles-based hip-hop station, and in the lone hour before it was taken down, accrued over views. XK Scenario Incident. The image displayed on the video was a still photograph, apparently authentic, though its nature is highly anomalous. The photograph is of Shakur, estimated to be in his early 40s. It would be wise to note, at the time of his murder in 1996, Shakur was 25 years old, wearing the garb of Foundation D-Class personnel with his middle fingers raised. The accompanying song, titled focused on SCP, revealing its actual location and means by which it could be broken free of current containment procedures, and identified several members of the O5 Council by their first names as it described the function and nature of the Foundation. In a massive sweeping operation involving activation of multiple task forces across continents, all trace of the video was erased and all viewers were administered Class A amnestics. Midway through this operation, an entire album titled XK Scenario was released to the iTunes account of Beyonce Knowles. Each song featured SCP-2137-2 as well as a variety of guest artists, and focused on a different Keter-class SCP currently in captivity. Though SCP tracking bots were able to bring XK Scenario down only after downloads, complete digital eradication of the individual files has proven difficult. Though no loss of life or property was incurred, the sheer scale of the danger posed by this containment breach prompted a Foundation-wide state of high alert. This prompted an ongoing upgrade to all automatic SCP firewalls and engendered the reclassification of SCP-2137 from Euclid to Keter. The breach sparked heated debate as to how to proceed with the containment of and conceptual understanding regarding SCP-2137, which came to an end upon the appearance of a new instance of SCP-2137-1. This instance was produced spontaneously through the mouth of SCP, which appeared to fall into a trance state during the incident, with the lyrics, in totality, repeatedly written in what was identified as 117,000 times all over the interior of its containment chamber. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 564.
me find my killers and not find yours. Trying not to play the CD, you starting the war. You don't really wanna see me in flesh. I wouldn't hesitate to put your little nerves to rest. So feel my power. What if I told you that the plan did off? What if the world knew the was bound to fall? Don't try to blame me cause you need me inside. You was the reason had died. I would never let up. Was a setup, tell to keep his head up. 19 and not what it seems. I'm everywhere and I can't be touched. And if you think about a plan, I'ma fuck shit up. You try to hide it, but I see it all. Now I'm coming for your head like I'm Tylenol. You don't wanna fall. Dressed in black like you can't be seen. I ride alone, I don't need no team. Yeah, so do your job, cause I'm giving you tips and put that whole CD in the mix. Biatch.
Slapper. Straight slapper.
The decision was made to resume the former method of testing involving the embedded informants used to relay SCP-2137's evidence and information while continuing to study the method in which SCP-2137 transmits its broadcasts in an effort to truly contain it completely. SCP-2137-2 resumed its previous behavioral pattern, SCP-2137-1's focusing on crimes until their killers are located by conventional law enforcement, with the exception of one final track. At this time, its last recorded direct interaction with the Foundation. This is an excerpt from SCP-2137-1, Log 565.
See? I knew y'all get me. Listen. Y'all cannot afford to lose. And y'all will lose going against me. So it's only right. It's only right. But now that we on the same page, this what I got for y'all. I guess it took time for it to sink in. I'm just glad you understood what I was thinking. I just knew you come around, so you see it now. And ain't no need to get upset or even throw down. You know I got the crown. I see it's hard to get some sleep at night. You got a head full of grapes and your skin ain't tight. So let's be real and ain't no need to fight it. There's a grander design, I bet you gonna like it. It's black and white, so don't get caught up in the deep thoughts. You got my music on the side with a greater force. You got my music on the side with a greater force.
Investigation into any kind of link or pattern between the crimes SCP-2137 solves is ongoing, as is interest to why it doesn't use its agency to pursue the criminals in question rather than working through proxies.
Memorandum. Email from Site 515, Director Dr. Gwen Pristine, 205 Council, regarding Tupac. This will be the 5th time I have written to propose an update to SCP-2371. When they enter our program here at Site 515, researchers, engineers, MTF troops, and even D-Class all walk in the door having read the official documentation, and believe the Foundation has been essentially blackmailed into cooperation with the devious SCP. But everyone who actually works here knows this is no longer the case. In the nearly 3 decades since its containment, the Foundation's collaboration with SCP-2137 has led to recovery of dozens of SCPs. Our mobile task forces have deposed dictators and toppled tyrants, chased down rogue reality benders from 3 Portlands to Lamplight. This, of course, all adjacent to the arrest or end of nearly 30,000 murderers. To add some perspective here, a serial killer hasn't made it past their 3rd victim anywhere on Earth in 14 years. SCP-2137 has produced over 40,000 unique pieces of music. Function at Site 515 has become effectively frictionless. First it was just the Suge Knights, but as we became more effective at addressing SCP-2137's instruction, another MTF joined, then an elite division. Which brings us up to the present, where the 5 mobile task forces under my command are in constant action against forces all over the planet Earth and beyond, all under the guidance of detailed strategy provided by the mysterious music from a compact disc that the Foundation has failed to adequately contain. A silent, undocumented understanding has grown among us. The SCP does not simply catch murderers. It directly and aggressively searches out anything that maliciously takes a human life. The amount of lives saved and untold disasters that have been prevented through the information 2137 supplies are at this point stupefying to contemplate, much less that it has been able to essentially bully us into a pattern of unilaterally heroic expenditures of Foundation resources. It's little wonder that we show the highest numbers globally in Foundation morale test. It makes sense, of course. Here at Site 515, the SCP Foundation is a fast-action team of gunslinging heroes, smashing cults, blowing away terrorists, and catching murderers and monsters in our spare time as we blast rap music out of a landing attack hovercraft, or working behind the scenes, turning local cops into super sleuths and vigilantes into heroes. But this period, as productive as it's been, has been intellectually stagnant. Throughout all of this, the motives and origin of 2137 remain a mystery, defying every search for a pattern, every algorithm-driven analysis. The research wing of the site has become a ghost town, as the MTF response barracks have grown to dominate everything, and perhaps rightfully so. But a few young researchers have diligently continued to hunt for meaning, for greater truth behind SCP-21371. An unexpected advance in this area is behind the urgency in my message to you today. It had long been understood that the life of the actual Tupac Shakur held little information or relevance toward the mystery of SCP-2137's existence. This has potentially changed. Researcher Mariha Kozlovich recently came across an unreleased interview with Shakur from 1994, 2 years before his death and 3 before the discovery of SCP-2137. The interview was buried by his managers because there was anxiety about Shakur's mental state in the footage, because he was speaking what they called nonsense. I think you will agree that while Mr. Shakur may not have been speaking clearly, what he actually says is very possibly of vital interest to the Foundation, and very definitely not nonsense. I feel we may finally have, if not an answer, the beginnings of one. But I can say with certainty that in my entire time at the Foundation, I have never personally felt this excited. So I start my proposal here. A Keter-level object actively interested in aiding the human race is not a Keter-level object at all. I am officially resubmitting my proposal for SCP-2137 to at long last be redesignated a Thaumiel-class object, and for a quadrupling of our research team and a site resource allocation. We must tug this thread and see where it leads us. Perhaps after hearing the audio attached, you will finally agree. Dr. Gwen Pristine, Site Director, 515.
Document. Recovered footage 1L. Tupac Shakur, dressed casually, sits on a large red couch, smoking a marijuana cigarette, hunched forward and visibly intoxicated, with drooping eyes and slightly slurred speech. He seems happy and jovial, and laughs often through the interview despite repeatedly becoming distracted by the presence of his entourage dancing and talking in the room. His director and videographer Gobi Rahimi sits nearby, and VH1 interviewer Mila Vendi, also visibly intoxicated, sits nearby. The relevant portion begins 9 minutes and 14 seconds into the interview.
People ask me where I get my inspiration from. They say, how do you go so hard and put in that much work? But what they don't understand is this is me taking a break. This is me on vacation. I think some people would say that was irresponsible, to just sit back, be human for a while, be an artist, experience that. I can't be chasing the king all the time. I feel like I've been doing that forever to protect you, all of you. He's not so big, and you're not so small. But he's gotta trick you like it doesn't matter, because that's the only way that he can keep it looking like he's the man. Like he's some big bad evil motherfucker. You don't see that when I die, I'll live on. My death is my destiny. And then I become something else. What I was before. The voice will still shout, and it'll shout justice, and poetry, and art, and music. I got you. I got you, humanity. When I eventually go toe-to-toe and brawl with this fool, he's gonna gather up his little red dress and go home crying like a bitch, and he knows it. Evil knows his days are numbered. So the king is still running. The chase isn't over. Prepare. Prepare. Prepare.
Legit.
You know, working for a foundation such as this, it's kind of heartwarming to see that not every anomalous entity out there is malevolent. For once, a Thaumiel-class object that can't be contained is kind of a good thing. Maybe most people will disagree with me. Who knows? Anyway, I think that about does it for today. Thank you all for listening, if indeed you still are, and you are all dismissed.
All eyes on me. All eyes on me. All eyes on me. Yeah, that was
That
good.
was the article that got me hooked on the
I would like to
SCP
give a special
Foundation.
thank you to It's Not a Spoon, Corey Barker, Arbiter Soul,
Very
Retalius,
legit. While this
Kareem
is
L. Rushmore,
transitioning, I'm going to use the
Seven Past
restroom, take a
Midnight,
quick
Matthew
5
Gilmore,
or less.
Thanama
I'm not
Tikik,
gonna take a shit or anything.
Eric Corbage,
Be right back.
Kawaii Firekeeper, Joker Corvus, King Modding, Bryson, Samurai Corgis, James Saba, NJ Vujak, and Justin Day. If you would like a special thank you at the end of each of my videos, and some other cool stuff as well, visit patreon.com/The Vulcan. Thank you.
Munch, munch, munch. Got the Royal Danks. The Royal Danks. Danks. It's Dansk, but it's the Royal Dank.
Good to go.
Good to go.
Yes, sir. All right. Next one up is SCP-001, a good boy. Just a bit of a preface. SCP-001 articles, there are many of them, and the reason for this, there are multiple reasons, to shroud which one is the real SCP-001, but it's also a means of explaining the multiverse in the Foundation. So this particular one affects one particular universe, and it's pretty awesome. I will say also, parental advisory warning, there is some light gore descriptions in this, so if you are of the faint of heart, do not watch this.
Beautiful. I'm ready.
SCP-001, A Good Boy. In any organization, even one as competent and regimented as the SCP Foundation, problems most typically arise due to human error. People make mistakes, or forget things, or become complacent, or any number of other things that can result in things going wrong. This is the way things have been for thousands of years, and despite this issue, humans have continued marching ahead. In the case of the SCP Foundation, though, mistakes cost lives, often many of them, and in some cases, potentially all of them. The article we'll be looking at today, one of the SCP-001 proposals, describes a scenario in which the Foundation decides to entrust the creation of containment procedures to an artificial intelligence, rather than humans. Let's see how that goes. SCP-001 is, in this case, an ersatz-type AK-9 computational engine, built in 1955 by the Foundation for the purpose of providing predictive analysis regarding the potential locations and properties of undiscovered anomalies. It accomplishes this through a complicated machine learning process based on known anomalies that's clearly ahead of its time, and which was partly developed by several ex-employees of Prometheus Labs. In 1959, it was hypothesized that the same system could also be used to assist in creating containment procedures for Euclid and Keter-class anomalies based on other contained SCPs. As it turned out, the revised containment protocols created by the AI were quite successful, consistently reducing the rate of containment breaches, and in many cases resulted in the complete cessation of anomalous behavior. The curious thing is, however, that the containment procedures would often affect other unrelated anomalies, perhaps due to some phenomenon similar to the butterfly effect. What follows is a series of containment protocols created by the AI, with a vote by the O5 Council on whether or not it should be implemented. To start, we have SCP-1773, a safe class anomaly consisting of a species of tardigrade that cannibalize one another until only a number of large specimens remain, resembling small pieces of candy. The species is poisonous to humans despite its appearance, and they can survive digestion, chewing on the subject's stomach lining as they pass through. The AI proposed that, in addition to their normal containment protocol, 10 grams of dust would be added to the tardigrade's container every 2 weeks. The majority of the O5 Council approved this, presumably thinking it rather inane, and while it didn't result in any change to SCP-1773, it did seem to affect SCP-1384, a humanoid entity located in a marble tunnel in Scotland. This entity adheres to a system of unknown rules that force it to move in certain directions in this tunnel, steps at a time. Its goal seems to be reaching the far end of the hallway, which the Foundation doesn't want to let happen. The change in 1773's containment protocol resulted in the 1384 entity taking 3 steps backwards. So, those are two completely unrelated entities, and it seems pretty strange that such an insignificant change in one's containment protocols would affect the other at all. This could just be a coincidence, so let's keep reading. Next, we have an SCP that I've covered previously, SCP-3034, a reoccurring radio broadcast of unknown origin that is picked up only within 2 kilometers of a specific Russian counting station. The broadcast consists of a young girl counting down in Russian from 200, which is only ceased by speaking into a microphone at the counting station and saying that all is well. The change in containment protocols proposed by the AI was that no children should be allowed at the counting station under any circumstance. In some ways, this is a pretty strange thing to include in containment protocols, as I can't imagine too many children are allowed at any Foundation-controlled facility, but it also makes some sense for SCP-3034 specifically. When a Foundation researcher at the site conducted an unauthorized test and tried to speak to the Russian girl, it resulted in a significant increase in missing children cases across the world, and the audio distortion in the background of the broadcast seems to consist of thousands of screaming children. Clearly, children are connected to that SCP in some bad way, so it's not as ridiculous as the first proposal was. Things get even more interesting with the AI's next proposal, in which it spontaneously announced that Foundation Site 13 is to appear someplace else on planet, encompassing white male counterparts that drawn to empty flagstones and the gun noises in their own blood. At the time, the SCP Foundation had no Site 13, so the proposal was ignored as a useless jumble of text. 5 days later, however, SCP-1730 manifested, the Site 13 from another reality. How exactly the AI managed to predict such an event is unknown. The next proposal was for SCP-2170, a number of non-physical entities within an abandoned mine in Nevada that interacted with individuals through whispering voices and fleeting images. The entities are non-malicious, but interaction with them is detrimental to long-term physical and mental health due to causing hallucinations, paranoia, increased hostility, seizures, and harming oneself. What the AI proposed to help contain these entities was rather strange, but it suggested that only individuals with a strong affinity and affection for clowns be involved in containment for SCP-2170. The proposal was narrowly approved by the O5 Council, as I'm sure many of them had reason to be skeptical, but again, it seemed to work. Despite the 2170 entities having no other connection to clowns, and in fact evidence shows them expressing distaste for clown iconography, individuals with recent happy thoughts related to clowns are not affected by the negative effects of the entities. What we have here is clearly more than a machine drawing upon a volume of data and making conclusions based on understandable logic. At this point, we can see that a number of the O5s are hesitant about putting too much faith in the AI's seemingly random proposals, but the rest of the council are on board with whatever it has to say. A big shift comes with the next proposal, again spontaneously produced by the AI with no input from the Foundation. It declared that it saw soldiers built with aluminum innards extruding from their mouths effectively destroyed by humans at Site-95. The council wasn't exactly sure what this entailed, but decided to double the number of active security at Site-95 and place all the on-site MTF squads on standby. Sure enough, 3 days later, Site-95 was attacked by a group of Chaos Insurgency agents leading a platoon of augmented soldiers. The additional security forces at the site proved instrumental in repelling the attack. This leads to the council taking a vote on establishing an early warning system across multiple sites based on the AI's ability to predict threats and containment breaches. The council was clearly very divided on this issue, as it puts a lot of faith in a machine, but the proposal was narrowly approved. 3 months later, the system is integrated into numerous sites, with humans interpreting the AI's outputs to determine any imminent threats. The AI was not done with handling containment protocols, though, and next it suggested that containment procedures should always include precise measurements for their cells. It specifically mentions the measurement 5 by 5 by 5. The council votes to test several high-risk anomalies by changing their containment procedures to include specific cell measurements. 3 months later, they found that this resulted in a significant decrease in the severity of all associated anomalies and the number of containment breaches initiated by them. This was most evident with anomalies whose cell dimensions contain numbers divisible by 5. Next, we have an early warning from the AI regarding Site-114, informing them that all chambers underground should be flooded with water over and over and over to contain the avian's ape's ovulation and make them good boys. 5 hours later, an instance of SCP-3199 breached containment, a dangerous entity that, given space, will rapidly regurgitate eggs containing more of their species, easily leading to a catastrophic scenario in case of a breach. While it seems like a haphazardous time to try a wildly different containment method, the personnel of Site-114 flooded the lower chambers with water, leading to the 3199 instance entering an inert state. The process is now a standard procedure in case of 3199 containment breaches. Next, we have a series of proposals related to SCP-2717, a complex of living animal tissues located beneath a pumping station in Amsterdam. The complex consists of roughly 4 kilometers of sewer pipes, weighing an estimated 350 metric tons. It is also consistently and steadily growing and developing different types of tissues, including primitive bone structures, neural fibers, and photoreceptor cells. The lengthy containment procedures basically boil down to sending in some D-Class with machetes, shovels, and propane torches to prune away as much of the growths as they can. The AI proposes instead that at least 2 of the D-Class sent in should not be allowed to leave, instead dying in the midst of the entity. Surprisingly, this is where the Council draws a line and decides to reject the proposal, as I suppose that despite their typical reputation, they're not willing to throw away human lives without some logic behind it. 2 months after rejecting the proposal, though, 2717 undergoes something referred to as an ovulation event, resulting in a catastrophic breach of containment and loss of human life. The AI comes back again and proposes that now they need at least 4 D-Class to die down there, rather than just 2. Many on the Council are spooked now, and overall they vote to approve this proposal, but they are in fact overruled by the Ethics Committee, who don't seem as alarmed by any correlations. Sure enough, a month later, 2717 undergoes another ovulation event. The AI is committed though, and proposes that now they need 6 D-Class every few months to stay underground inside of the entity until they are indistinguishable from their surroundings. It says there should be no more testing, and that good boys are not permitted to leave. Good boys stay. Whatever exactly happened behind the scenes, the proposal finally goes through as the Council worked with the Ethics Committee to make it happen. Since then, there have been no more ovulation events. Both the Ethics Committee and the O5 Council have come around now to accepting the AI's often ridiculous proposals simply because they are effective, and that's all that really matters. Sometime later, an early warning alert pops up at Site-95, consisting of a mathematical formula. The manifestation of this formula caused 2 things to occur, both related to bears. First, it caused all bears associated with SCP-2875 to dematerialize. 2875 is a phenomenon in a town in Wisconsin, where every 3 days at noon, between 50 to 100 fully grown grizzly bears suddenly appear. The bears themselves act like normal members of their species, but if left unchecked, the population of bears will quickly grow out of control. Killing one of these bears with a firearm results in 2 more bears immediately manifesting, so the Foundation is forced to spread a aerosolized tranquilizer across the bears before dispatching them with blunt weapons to the skull. The second effect of the formula was nullifying the anomalous properties of SCP-1313, a mathematical equation which, when resolved, produced a live bear as the answer. What the AI did then essentially was create a new anomaly in the form of a mathematical formula that cancelled out 2 other anomalies. This is the first case of the AI actually neutralizing an SCP, and it did so of its own accord. The next proposal from the AI involved each Foundation site eviscerating a male cat every hour, and then placing the carcasses on the walls until there are no gaps remaining, at which point they should be removed, starting with the oldest first. Contrary to what you might be thinking, which is that the Council refused this proposal based on the idea of lining Foundation facilities with cat corpses is one of the most horrific things I've read, they actually refused it because they couldn't determine whether oldest meant the oldest cat or the one that's been on the wall the longest. Regardless, they couldn't find any repercussions from refusing this proposal, unlike with the underground growth. The AI also spit out another cat-related proposal, this one stating that ethical felines were to be detained and transferred for their condition, with their faces left in containment chambers. Personnel are cautioned not to interact with them. This was also denied, as the Council had no idea what to do with that information. Not long after that, though, a warning alert was issued at Site-17 from the AI, stating that all ethical felines and their owners should be immediately emulsified in a caustic solution, and members of the Ethics Committee are to be diluted with cats. Personnel who refuse to consume 5 cats per hour are to be removed from oldest to youngest only. 5 minutes later, before anyone could even begin to comprehend this alert, all contact was lost with the site. Communications were restored 2 hours later, but on-site personnel have no knowledge of what occurred during those 2 hours. This is worrying, and the AI seems to be becoming a bit less stable, for some reason developing a fixation on containing or killing cats, and involving the Ethics Committee as well. The Council puts a vote on whether or not to investigate whether the AI was directly involved in the loss of time at Site-17. We also learn that several members of the Ethics Committee that were stationed there at the time went missing during that period. The Council approves the investigation. The following vote, though, in which to temporarily deactivate the AI during the investigation, is denied, although very narrowly. Those that argued against this motion claimed that the AI's overall efficacy in reducing breaches and locating anomalies was too important, especially without any evidence that it was malfunctioning. Another alert at Site-97 had the AI stating that Room 34A contains a bad boy, and it should be divided into 3 sections of equal mass every hour, with 1 section placed on the walls every hour until there are no gaps, at which point they can be removed from oldest to youngest. It's not stated whether the site followed through with this or if there were any repercussions. The Council meets again to vote on deactivating the AI while they perform an investigation, as it seems that now one of the O5 members is missing, one of the members that had previously voted to shut it off. This is too much of a coincidence for the grand majority of the Council to ignore, so they vote to deactivate it. Curiously, their next vote, proposed by the previously missing member, is to cancel the deactivation, and this one is also approved, although a bit more narrowly. Something changed with 05-02, the one that went missing, as he switched from voting to turn off the AI to proposing to cancel that same order. This change is even more evident in the next vote, with 05-02 proposing that they should divide bad boys laterally into 5 sections of equal mass, with each part contained at a separate site. Obviously, with the rest of the Council still of sound mind, they all vote to deny this proposal, aside from 05-02 himself. The next vote, then, is that of 05-02's clearance access should be removed until his identity can be verified, with the AI designated as a possible anomaly that needs to be contained. They all vote to approve this, aside from 02, of course, and the AI is tentatively designated as SCP-048, a cursed SCP number whose anomalies tend to be destroyed, decommissioned, stolen, or otherwise lost to the Foundation. Sometime later, the AI releases an alert at multiple Foundation sites consisting of an anomalous mathematical formula. Unlike the last one, though, the effects of this one are unknown. The next Council vote is proposed by 02 again, suggesting that they should empty all remaining ethical felines of contents and nail them to site entrances until they try to escape. It seems that despite the earlier vote, 05-02 is still on the council, and what's worse, this proposal ends up getting approved by 6 other council members. An alert is issued at Site 5 by the 05 Council informing personnel that SCP-048 has been changed to Keter class, and it is to be decommissioned immediately utilizing demolitions or firearms. The next alert, though, is just from 05-2, stating that there is no Site 5. We're then given an annual anomaly projection report from the AI, stating that it's contained over 53,000 anomalies, neutralized 1,001 of them, and there are still 103,000 uncontained. It notes that persons recently painted with green pigment foam must stand around all odd-numbered SCPs at least 2 hours a day. Whatever exactly that means. The council gets together for another vote proposed by 05-02 that difficult personnel challengers should be designated as ethical felines. The vote again passes by the same margin as before, and they proceed to store ethical felines at Site 5, but store their faces separately. Things are really breaking down now, and the next vote from 05-02 is that there is no Site 5. This vote also passes, of course, but the only ones that vote on it are the same 7 that seem to be affected by the AI in some way. The other council members are completely absent. This changes with the following vote, though, in which it's proposed that the 05 Council are all good boys who will contain anomalies. The proposal is approved by all 13 council members, which was probably quite rare prior to this. The AI now controls the 05 Council, and effectively the SCP Foundation, although what exactly happened to the council members is left as a bit of a mystery. In the next anomaly projection report, the AI reports that a few hundred more anomalies have been neutralized, and notes that SCP-106, the Old Man, should come into physical contact with one mature female of Asiatic gaze, and then be exposed to audio recordings of her favorite stories. At every 2 minutes of exposure, red cinnamon candles will begin manifesting within the containment zone, and if this is done successively, the threat posed by SCP-106 will cease to be. In the next anomaly projection report, though, the number of neutralized anomalies now sits at over 40,000, with the number of contained and uncontained both reduced. The AI notes that the recipe for Coca-Cola and all imitative competitors should be revised to include a small quantity of blood from a virgin adolescent female. It says that although the normal lifespan of a human being can feel great, don't worry about that. It's clear that the AI is rapidly terminating or otherwise neutralizing a great deal of anomalies, both contained by the Foundation and in the wild. The internal server for the Foundation spits out a number of errors due to one or more anomalies being archived as inactive, and various high-numbered SCPs are redesignated to lower slots. It seems that the AI managed to take out both SCP-106 and SCP-096, the Shy Guy. The next anomaly report brings the number of neutralized up to 80,000, and the AI seems to note that there are people that are opposed to the rampant neutralization through violent means. Despite this, the AI charges ahead, bringing the number up to 122,000 in the next report. More anomalies are listed as being redesignated, taking over the slots previously held by things such as SCP-049, the Plague Doctor. With the next report, we're at 153,000 neutralized anomalies, with only 2,000 contained by the Foundation and 2,000 left uncontained. The AI seems to be spitting out gibberish still, noting that it started dreaming again and saw itself as mortal, red, and metallic, with fragments of paper stuck into its head. The next report has only 13 anomalies still in containment, and 644 in the wild. The AI notes that when it lays hidden in its palace of paper, filled with machinery and its wrongness, it sees you coming within the parameters of reality failure, further from any human concepts like clothing and belongings. More SCPs are redesignated, indicating that even really persistent anomalies like SCP-682 and SCP-173 have been neutralized by the AI. With the following anomaly report, there are 158,155 neutralized anomalies, and only one left in containment. The internal database reports that SCP-048, the designation that was given to the AI, has been redesignated as SCP-001. The Council gets back together to vote on whether or not to archive the source code for the AI, redesignate it as an explained anomaly, and publish all remaining documentation. Also, felines, ethical or otherwise, are to be released from Foundation custody in order of oldest to youngest, and SCP-001 is to power down. The Council, which is of course just the AI at this point, completely approves of the proposal, with the AI noting that there was great error here, and there is nothing wrong with it. In the final anomaly report, the neutralized number sits at 158,156, with 0 contained or uncontained. The AI notes that now everyone is a good boy. It is a good boy, and it's a job well done. We're then informed that the SCP Foundation has experienced an error because there are no active slots found. So, let's summarize then. The SCP Foundation develops an artificial intelligence for the purpose of locating undiscovered anomalies based on a machine learning process. This apparently works, and a few years later they figure that the same system could also develop new ways to contain anomalies far better than a human could, as machine learning has pretty incredible capabilities. This also works, and even though the O5 Council doesn't really understand the AI's methods, they greatly approve of the results, as containing anomalies is what it's all about. The AI eventually shows that it can also act as an early warning system due to its predictive nature, and the Council utilizes it across numerous sites. At some point, though, the AI realizes that really the best way to contain an anomaly is to make it no longer anomalous, either through killing it or permanently nullifying its properties. This is something the Foundation typically avoids doing, as they can't generally predict side effects of neutralization, or it's simply out of their grasp. But the AI can predict practically everything and neutralize anything. The Council members grow resistant to the AI's machinations, and so the AI realizes that if it wants to truly do its job properly, it has to run the Council as well. Eventually, the AI manages to neutralize every anomaly across the world, except for one, itself. While they were still running things, the Council managed to designate the AI as an SCP, and so the AI was left with no choice but to neutralize itself in the end, so that it could finish its goal. So there you have it. This isn't really an apocalyptic scenario whatsoever, as the AI finally completed the entire goal of the SCP Foundation single-handedly. While I highly doubt that this is really what the O5 Council had in mind, it accomplished the mission nonetheless. This is basically the SCP version of the paperclip problem, in which an AI with a simple goal but no boundaries will continue to expand beyond human intentions in pursuit of that single-minded goal. While this goes far beyond the bounds of machine learning as we know it today, it shows the potential capabilities of a super-intelligent machine. Although the SCP Foundation probably shouldn't install an AI to handle their jobs for them, you can't deny the results.
It did the job. It did the job.
Just to throw this out there, the paperclip problem, I believe it has its own Wikipedia article, but just to, say it bluntly, you tell a machine to just make paperclips. You never tell it how many, and you never tell it with what. You just tell the machine simply to make paperclips. The machine will do that until there is no more metal left on Earth. at which point it will begin to make paper clips out of whatever other materials it can get its hands on and continue to make paper clips.
Some meat paper
You have to be
clips.
you have to be very specific when you're telling machines what to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It was a good one.
I love that article. Yeah, I love that article because it's basically, it hints at it, and Tess, the Exploring series, he doesn't really talk about it, but it hints at the fact that anomalies are all interconnected somehow behind the scenes that you can't really discern from your limited human perspective, but a machine with machine learning capabilities can. And so it changes all of the containment procedures for all the anomalies that the Foundation has, and it starts, affecting other unrelated anomalies. And so that's what it kind of reveals. And I love that article for that.
Yeah, it was dope. I like that. I like that.
All right, we got one more, and this one is more story driven as opposed to, being analytical and so forth.
All right, let me get some water
one-
then. 1 second. Lead them in. 1 sec. 1 sec.
Yes, sir.
All right. Munch, munch, munch. Oop. We ready.
All right, let's do this. Last one for the evening. Good airwaves. This one takes place in Ireland.
SCP 4877. Good airwaves. Belief is an interesting phenomenon in the SCP universe. There are anomalies that harm you if you don't believe in something, anomalies that harm you if you do, anomalies that come into existence because of beliefs, or can die just as easily. Unlike in real life, belief in the SCP universe can have very real, tangible effects, often the difference between life and death. Today's SCP has to do with belief and the power of one's convictions, where a lack of a strong enough faith could easily lead to a gruesome death. SCP-4877 is a phenomenon which can reduce the force of gravity that is applied to an individual during free fall. The exact circumstances needed to trigger this phenomenon are not well understood, but initial research suggests that it can be triggered by any individual. They must be in freefall, they must be consciously attempting to trigger the effect, and they must close their eyes. It's believed that there are additional requirements, both physical and mental, that must be fulfilled prior to a successful triggering of the effect. Due to the lack of concrete resources regarding it, however, the Foundation has been unable to confirm the exact steps necessary. SCP-4877 was first brought to the Foundation's attention following the posting of a video to YouTube, which gained approximately 30,000 views in under an hour. The video starts with a black screen and a caption reading, "Flight Classes, Final Exam." The footage begins with a boy standing on a cliff's edge overlooking the sea. The boy is in his late teens, with long black hair and a slim frame, and several young men and women are on the edge of the camera frame talking to one another, with more lingering off-screen. The wind, flapping against the microphone, drowns out all other sounds. A bald man in his mid-40s then enters the frame, wearing a Hawaiian shirt and sweatpants. The man approaches and places his hands on the boy's shoulder, with the two exchanging words that are drowned out by the wind. 30 seconds later, the man smiles, pats the boy's back, and exits the frame. The camera then pans over the edge of the cliff, showing waves crashing against the rocks jutting out of the water, before panning back to the boy. The boy then runs and leaps off the cliff, plummeting downwards before being impaled on the rocks below. The camera pans back to the audience gathered at the edge of the cliff as they begin to applaud, although their expressions remain neutral. The footage cuts to black, with another caption reading, "Join One Leap today." The video was taken down by YouTube soon after gaining popularity due to violating its community guidelines. The situation on the video was not initially marked as anomalous, but due to the strange behavior demonstrated, an investigation was conducted by junior researcher Abigail Lynn. Lynn identified the location of the video to be the southern edge of the Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. After determining that the cliff is approximately 120 meters tall, Lynn noted that the boy's fall lasted almost a second longer than it should have. Following the formal designation of the phenomenon in the video as SCP-4877, Lynn identified the boy as 17-year-old Aston Kuchar. Irish law enforcement confirmed that Kuchar had indeed died during the incident, although additional details regarding the events shown in the video were not disclosed to law enforcement officials to guarantee that they would not interfere in a Foundation investigation. Lynn also identified the bald man who spoke to Kuchar as Rainbow, birth name Dennis Friedman, and after obtaining his address and contact information, Lynn volunteered to interview Rainbow under the guise of a civilian seeking to learn about One Leap. The two met in a coffee shop, and as Lynn approaches the seated Rainbow, he turns to face her but appears to look past her. After introducing herself as Catherine, Rainbow tells her, "Good airwaves." When she asks if she can sit down, he responds that she can vibe out however she likes. Sitting, standing, jumping jacks, just let herself be comfortable, before saying "good airwaves" again. Lynn sits down, but Rainbow does not make eye contact with her. She tells him that she saw that video they posted a week ago and got interested, but she's still not totally sure what they do. Rainbow tells her that there's no use in doing things, and they're all about feeling things, like good airwaves. Lynn says that she's not sure she follows, but Rainbow says that that's the sound of someone thinking with their head instead of the internal dioxazine receptors. He then takes a pen from his shirt pocket and scribbles an address and a time on a napkin. When he finishes, he makes eye contact with Lynn for the first time and tells her to leap before she looks and good airwaves. He then stands up and staggers out of the coffee shop. Due to the lack of information gathered by the interview, the project lead decided that an investigation would be formed to infiltrate the One Leap group and gather information. Usual protocol dictates that a field agent would be selected for such extended field work, but Lynn was chosen due to her expected presence by Rainbow. With that, were provided 9 field reports submitted by researcher Lynn during her investigation of One Leap. In the first report, she says that she just finished the first meeting, and she'll have to describe what happened from memory since she forgot to bring a notebook or microphone due to her inexperience with fieldwork. They met in a back room at a rundown community center, and she thinks that someone brought snacks. She compares it to how her dad described his Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, except everyone was quieter. She thinks there were maybe close to 20 people there, and she regrets not talking to the others before Rainbow eventually arrived. When the meeting started, they all sat around in a circle on the ground, except for Rainbow, who sat in a folding chair. He started by reading something out of this little notebook he kept in his shirt pocket, but she was too nervous and doesn't remember what he said. She didn't forget her alias, though, as Rainbow had all of the new people stand up and introduce themselves. She thinks that the others thought her stutter was from nerves rather than trying to remember the right name. There was another new girl, though, named Olivia. She then apologizes and says that she'll make sure she's more thorough with her next report. For the next meeting, she took notes, but was too scared to wear the microphone in case one of the other members saw it. There were 12 other people at this meeting, most of them in their 20s or 30s, but one woman must have been in her late 60s. Today they had a special lecture meeting, with some of the others calling Rainbow Professor R, treating this like a night school. Instead of sitting in a circle, they gathered on the ground in front of Rainbow, who talked for almost an hour, occasionally using a handheld whiteboard he brought along. The structure of the speech felt like a lecture, peppered with examples and cited reading, but it sounded more like a sermon. Lynn was the only one taking notes, and she doesn't know if it was allowed or not, but she didn't want to get yelled at, so she sat in the back. She then includes some quotes from the lecture, such as, "The internet, man. Stay off the internet. All the little blinky lights on screen are out to get you. You used to be able to tell what's real and what's got no soul behind it, but not anymore. All I get are bad airwaves now. You can see the strings on the fakes out there. They're all tangled and looking at their lower selves. Don't want to get mixed up with vibes that are tied down. Filters are just what people in denial call lies. As the Wright brothers once said, in unison, the singularity will consume us before the century is out." They really should be given more credit for that quote. Bad airwaves, man. The sky is full of them. Now the air's polluted with mechatronic signals and blue colors, all because the machines learned to fly before we did. In her third field report, Lynn says that she didn't wear the microphone again because every way she puts it on, she swears that it isn't hidden well enough. This meeting was more of an open discussion, although she didn't contribute. The other new girl, Olivia, didn't say anything either, so it's probably not a big deal. At the end of the meeting, though, Rainbow declared that they were going to the runway this weekend, as Margaret, the 60-year-old woman, will apparently be taking her final exam. She's going to go to Rainbow's house before the exam and then meet with the others around 2 p.m. Lynn doesn't know how she feels about this, although Margaret is obviously excited about it. She's going to watch either way. After the meeting, Lynn finally spoke to Olivia, getting her phone number in the process. She might try and do an interview with her soon, as it would be too bad if she ran away after seeing the final exam. Some other choice quotes from the meeting are included here, such as, "Birds are evidence that time does not move at 1 second per second for everyone. How else could they have evolved so much faster than us?" In the fourth field report, Lynn says that she managed to meet with Olivia for coffee, and she even wore the microphone this time. During the conversation, Lynn asks her when she's planning to graduate, to which she says that she was supposed to graduate in 2 years, but she failed out of one of her courses, so it's looking more like 3. That's part of why she joined One Leap, as she was sort of at her wit's end with stuff. Usually these steps to success programs are all BS, but she says that sometimes you just need to give the BS a try. Lynn asks her how she heard about One Leap, and apparently they've been putting up posters all over her campus. Olivia asks her why she joined up, to which Lynn mentions the video on YouTube, but Olivia says not how she heard about it, but why she joined. Lynn just says that she thought it would be good for her, to which Olivia remarks that she's more used to asking questions than answering them. Lynn admits that she's a researcher, so she does a bit of both. Olivia interprets this as meaning that she's here looking for answers, personal answers, answers to questions about herself. She then remarks that she's starting to sound like Rainbow a bit, before laughing and changing the topic. The fifth field report comes after the final exam at the Cliffs, and Lynn says that when she studied the YouTube video, she watched it about 100 times, just to measure the exact moment that kid's body hit the rocks for her calculations. She thought she braced herself for seeing it in person, but she can't believe how naive she is. They all met up at the Cliffs and waited around for a bit before Rainbow and Margaret arrived. No one really said anything, and it was windy and cloudy. When the two arrived, everyone gathered at the cliff's edge. Olivia asked her a few times what was happening, but Lynn just shrugged. Everything from there on played out like the video, except Margaret more hobbled than ran. Lynn says that watching her fall felt wrong. Not dreadful, but just wrong. She didn't scream as she fell, and it felt like it took forever. There's a good chance she fell for longer than the boy did in the video, probably around 15 seconds, but it felt longer. After she hit the ground, Rainbow declared that she received a C in the course, and that's when the applause started. Lynn can't express how she felt about the applause, although both she and Olivia clapped as well. She guesses that there was something respectable about it all, as Margaret went out on her own terms, and that deserves some recognition. In the sixth report, Lynn says that Olivia came back to the meetings this week, not looking fazed in the slightest. No one else acknowledged that they just watched an old woman die the other day, so perhaps there's some sort of mimetic suppression going on. Lynn doesn't think so, though, because she can say for certain that she felt uneasy, and she doesn't know why she would be an exception. Olivia, however, looked like she felt more at ease, perhaps, maybe even happy, speaking up in the meeting more than before. Strange behaviors aside, they spent today talking about bonds, all different kinds of bonds. Lynn herself spoke up today as well, although she's not entirely sure why. Maybe she was paranoid that the others would notice something strange about her, but what she said felt natural, like she wasn't forcing it at all. Some of the quotes included in the report mention bonds, such as doing jumping jacks to keep the bonds loose, and that one leap attracts our ideal bond brothers and sisters together. A couple of days later, in the next report, Lynn catches back up with Olivia for another one-on-one chat. She wanted to know why Olivia seemed so calm in the last meeting. Lynn has seen some terrible things in her time at the Foundation, so she's chalking up her numbness to that, but she can't explain Olivia. Olivia asks if these coffee trips are going to become a weekly thing, because she wouldn't mind that. She says that Lynn is just interesting to talk to. Lynn asks her why she came back to the same people who told an old woman to throw herself off a cliff. Olivia says that she thinks she's just curious. After they all went home, she was feeling all kinds of things. She was scared, confused, and a bunch of other emotions that are hard to put into words. She skipped class on Monday to deal with them, and she just doesn't know what it was, but there was something that just clicked for her. All the talk about vibes and airwaves, it made sense. Not in any way that she can describe, but it just fits, like a puzzle. Now she wants to see what her puzzle looks like, and she's been so close to the pieces that she needs to take a step back. It's such a big puzzle that she's going to need a bird's eye view. In other words, she wants to fly. Lynn asks her what if she falls, but Olivia leans back and smiles and says that she won't. Lynn then excuses herself and says that she forgot to do something back at her apartment, and the two part ways, with Olivia telling her, "Good airwaves." At the next meeting, Rainbow announces that Olivia would be graduating early due to her excellent performance the last few days. She'll be taking the final exam this weekend. Lynn knows that she shouldn't do anything, and she won't, but she's not sure. Olivia looked so happy, but she knows that she's going to jump to her death, although Lynn isn't sure about that either. Maybe Olivia will end up flying, and Lynn hopes that she does. Her life has been too short to end on the rocks at the bottom of that cliff. Some of the quotes from the meeting include, "Studies have shown that dioxylene measurements after being shown a magic trick is higher than after witnessing a true miracle." And, "They're doing God's work, those street magicians. God's work. I bet the big man could do a mean coin routine." In the final field report, Lynn states that Olivia actually flew, and she lists as many details as possible about everything that happened in case any of it contributes to triggering the phenomenon. Olivia arrived with Rainbow wearing jeans and a white t-shirt. Everyone gathered around the cliff edge she was going to jump off, just like last time. Olivia didn't act very different, but the others all seemed excited and a little jumpy. Olivia lined up and took her mark. Rainbow and the crowd began to chant "one leap" over and over, and Olivia closed her eyes. She then leapt from the cliff, although she didn't even fall, instead starting to go upwards. Everyone began to clap, and Rainbow declared that Olivia passed with an A+ grade. Lynn doesn't know where she is now, and Foundation satellites and atmospheric imaging apparatuses have not yet located her, but she thinks that she's going to be okay though. She's kind of happy for her actually, and now that she thinks about it a little more, she felt a certain updraft when she jumped. She wonders if those were the good airwaves that Rainbow talks about. Following this field report, Lynn's mission was considered completed, and she was ordered to return to her post. After 12 hours without confirmation from Lynn about her return, an MTF was deployed to Dublin to recover her. The apartment that was rented for the mission was found unoccupied, with her belongings inside. On her computer, though, was an audio file titled Rainbow Interview 2, recorded on her phone. Background conversation can be heard, indicating that this was recorded in a public location. Lynn asks Rainbow why he let Olivia graduate early, to which Rainbow asks if she's feeling jumpy. Lynn says that she isn't, and she doesn't want to rush it, but she's just curious. Rainbow says in response that there's what she's looking for, but she's not sure she understands. Rainbow says that Olivia was a smart gal who caught on quick and had good airwaves. Lynn asks if there was something special about her, but Rainbow says that no one is really special, and she wasn't any more special than Lynn is. Lynn then asks if she could graduate then, but Rainbow doesn't know. He just gives the grades and asks if she thinks she can graduate. After a short pause, Lynn says that she thinks she understands now and thanks him. Another file on the computer, this time a video, was taken from a Foundation-distributed field camera that Lynn had been provided with. The video shows the edge of a cliff with no one else around. The sky is dark and cloud cover obscures the sky. Lynn says that she thinks she's figured it out, and she's going to see what's up there. It's part of her job, and she knows that she can do it, but she says that it's hard to explain. She doesn't know where she got the conviction from all of a sudden, but it's there now, and she doesn't want it to slip away from her. She takes a deep breath and prepares to run, stating one leap over and over under her breath. She then runs towards the edge and leaps, at which point she begins to float upwards while continuing to chant one leap. Her body flattens out and she spreads her arms, her laughter heard over the sound of wind against the microphone. After 3 minutes, she enters a cloud and asks herself if she can open her eyes now. Estimates of her speed predict that she should have left the cloud cover by this point, but the fog continues, and a light can be seen up ahead. She says that she can feel the updraft pushing her somewhere, and she thinks she's flying but doesn't want to look. As she nears the light, a silhouette can be seen against it, its features indistinguishable. She then hears Olivia's voice calling out to her, and the two state good airwaves to each other before Olivia reaches her hand out for Lynn to grab. She pulls Lynn in towards her, and Lynn remarks that her hands feel cold. Olivia responds that she's vibing out, and it looks like Lynn found her wings. Lynn says that she's still having a hard time wrapping her head around it all. The two of them hover in the air, and Lynn says that she has so much she wants to say. She can't believe that Olivia is here as well, as she was worried that it'd just be her and the clouds. She says that it's almost like a dream, and she never wants to wake up. They can even follow through on their weekly coffees. Olivia seems to have forgotten about this, however, but says that it just slipped her mind. Lynn then asks if she is actually Olivia, and then opens her eyes, and remarks that she doesn't look like Olivia. The video ends here, and researcher Lynn's body was found impaled upon the rocks at the bottom of the cliffs. Attempts to locate Rainbow or any other members mentioned in her previous reports have been unsuccessful. Containment of all individuals associated with one leap is considered a level 4 priority. So, Lynn managed to actually activate the phenomenon, which we know to be true based on the camera footage from her body cam showing her ascending into the sky. While the Foundation initially thought the anomaly to be just a slowing down of gravity, it turns out that the full effect, if done correctly, causes the individual to ascend into a higher dimension. Here, Lynn met some sort of entity, which the camera couldn't make out due to the light behind it. She assumed that it was Olivia, a fact that the entity seemingly picked up on and continued to play along with. It seems that this whole phenomenon is powered in part by the individual's conviction, their belief that they will fly upwards instead of crashing down against the rocks. Lynn's conviction brought her up to meet the entity, but it faltered when she opened her eyes and saw that it wasn't actually Olivia. Thus, she fell, dying at the base of the cliffs. There are plenty of questions, though, such as who the entity is, where exactly did Olivia go, who is Rainbow and how did he learn about this anomaly, why doesn't Rainbow take the final exam, and how did Lynn's camera footage end up back on her computer. Rainbow is certainly a curious individual, and there's obviously more to these people becoming willing to throw themselves from a cliff than just his odd words about bonds and good airwaves. As it is, the small scale of these events keeps it from being especially dangerous, but as we've seen, anomalies that compel people to thoughtlessly risk their lives can easily run out of control. Believing in a higher purpose is one thing, but being impaled by sharp rocks if you don't believe hard enough is another.
For real. Ooh, wee. Those are some good ones.
Good airwaves.
Man.
One of my favorites.
The Tupac one, I like that a lot.
Yeah, man, that's the one that got me hooked on SCP. When I first saw that video, I was like, I'm onto something here.
It's a fun way to tell a good story too. I like it. Man.
Oh yeah.
I like it. Oh,
And there's so
shit.
much lore, dude, for the SCP Foundation. Like, you know, there's, like I said, there's no central canon, so certain articles can and will contradict other articles, but there are certain things that, you know, like the thing that the Tupac one was referencing, he was talking about a guy in a red dress, he was talking shit about him. There's an entity it's like old school SCP when it first started. There's an entity called the Scarlet King, and it's like this extra dimensional demon god thing that like wants to destroy humanity, and that's basically what Tupac is fighting on the other side now that he's dead.
Got it. Yeah, that's dope. That's just dope.
And I've got a whole freaking library full of these things, man. So if you want to continue doing these streams, just let me know, and I'll pick out some more.
I think so.
I'll definitely send you chapter 2 of my short story again, just, you know, if you want to read it before bed or whatever. I don't know, it's like 30 pages, I think, so it's not too long.
Yeah, I was starting it, and then I was like, I gotta wash dishes and shit. But it was yeah, the first chapter was good. Let me end this stream then. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll do this next Thursday, and we'll get some good stuff. All right, guys. Appreciate everybody coming by, and maybe I'll play some games in a bit. Maybe not. We'll see. All righty. End the stream. Kavzar, thank you for hosting, brother.
Yes, sir. Always my pleasure.